Hey, it's Ishani again. Ishani El Even is on a roll today. I don't know why, because I'm really sort of crusty today and hungover, but sometimes that's just when I feel inspired. Um, so I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about ending homelessness today on this video. And some of the information that I mentioned will be coming from the previous video that I posted about legalizing sex, drugs, and suicide. Um, uh, so The issue of homelessness is an interesting issue. It's very similar to the issue of drug infestation in poor neighborhoods. Um, how can I say this politely? The elites like poverty. They love it. Okay? Dracula loves poverty. If Dracula was walking around with the cape on and the fangs hanging down and the big red collar and everything, Dracula would love the poor neighborhood, love the area where the homeless people are. That's just, that's a vampire's delight. Okay? They love poverty. You can't have wealth without poverty. They depend on each other in this world matrix, this artificially man-made world that we live in. They depend on one another. So, poverty is a commodity, just like pork fat, just like bacon, just like yams, or oranges. Poverty is a commodity. And they produce poverty. They create poverty because it's a commodity. So when you see things in the world that look just too poor to be real, you should understand that human beings would never make that for themselves. Human beings would never pack each other that closely and build dwellings like the favelas, for example, in Brazil. They would never want to live in a favela. Okay? You would never want to live in a slum. No one would do that to themselves if they had resources or if they had a chance. It's coming from somewhere. It's coming from some thing that's unseen, but you can see it. As soon as you drive out of the favelas, you can drive for like 2 miles down the road and you're going to see the elites' homes with their security gates and their big cars, in their 6-car driveway, 6-car garages and stuff like that. They don't do it as big as we do it here in America, though. Like the elite people here, they be clowning. Same thing in the UK. And Italy is, oh man, they really be clowning in Italy. That's where the gaudy people live, the people with all of that jewelry, and they like to show off their wealth. All of that depends very heavily on poverty. Okay? You need a good steady supply of dispensable, disposable human beings to sell your drugs, to make your drugs, to sell themselves, to mule your drugs for you in and out and whatever. So that foundation has been established. Okay, I wanted to establish why we even have poverty in the first place. It's not a problem. Human beings really don't have a problem. We don't have a problem, okay, in our species. There's no threat to our existence. There's no threat to our survival. God is not mad at us. God does not hate us. There's no existential threat. The biggest threat is the bad guys, right? Because they want to be rich, richity. They want to live forever. They're trying to create a situation where they can live forever through transhumanism. And that all requires a lot of poverty, okay? Because poor people can't defend themselves. Poor people have children, and the children end up in the hands of the elites, being raised by the state, because that's how the system is designed. Poor neighborhoods and favelas and slums and things like that, those places are basically cattle ranch. That's basically a farm where they're growing their commodity, which is poor people. And poor people are not going to be a threat ever because they don't have the resources. The only way that poor people could be a threat is if they pull together, right? Poor people have to pull together, and then they can be a threat, and then they can be effective at leaning, pushing back and saying, hey, you know what? We don't really like your policies, and we don't really like what you're doing, We don't really want your drugs in our neighborhood. They got to pull together and not just be crushed under the poverty. Easier said than done. So, my solution to poverty is really applies only to America, and it's kind of cynical because I know that they love poverty and I know that they create it for their purposes. They create poverty for specific reasons. It's not like poverty is a real thing. Poverty doesn't really exist in God's kingdom. God did not make scarcity. There's nothing scarce. There's so much abundance on this earth. There's more than enough resources for every living thing to be fed, to be healed, medicine, to have a social life, to be important. Everybody has a role to play. Everybody is important. Okay. So poverty is a man-made construct. And so I don't want to harp on the problem too much because I think I already said enough. But I could go on and on and on with that one because honestly, it's annoying. It's really hell of annoying because why doesn't everybody understand that poverty is not it's not indigenous to us. There's no poverty in indigenous cultures. Everybody has what they needs, right? We all have what we need. We're born that way. So in the United States, I find that I'll give you a good example. When I used to live in Los Angeles for like 5 years before I moved up here to Seattle. In Los Angeles, they have a huge homeless problem, right? I mean, it was so bad that there were tents being put, in front of at the junior college at LACC. Like this is a college, you know what I mean? Like it seems like it would be inappropriate because there's children there, there's minors there and very young people, but they allowed them to. They allowed camps wherever the people wanted to put the camps. And with the camps comes the shit and the piss and the funk and the trash, right? And if you're homeless, you know what I'm talking about, okay? So I'm not going to try to dance around it for you. You know that homeless camps are a terrible thing. And, you got to live, right? You got to live somewhere. I don't really think that people should be required to participate in our capitalist society as it stands today. People should be, given a choice whether to participate or not. In countries like Thailand, you don't have to participate. If you don't want to participate and you don't want to chase after a bigger car or, a nicer home or, buying Jordans for your kids or whatever, then you can just drop on out of society. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can go on over and you can get you the threads, like the holy threads or whatever, the saffron threads or whatever, and you can go be a monk for a while. And actually in Thailand, I think every man does it for a period of time. The women can't for obvious reasons because they have to be with the children. But every man in Thailand gets a chance to just go and live like a monk for a while and see what that's like. Well, they also have that in India. There's a whole class of people that never worked a job. They don't work jobs. They don't do what we do. They don't chase after money because they're chasing enlightenment. And that's all they do. They do yoga every single day. They meditate. They only eat rice, once a day or whatever it is. They're ascetic, right? Because they're the underclass. They're the lower class, right? So the lower class people here in America don't have that option. If you're a lower class person here in America, you only got one option. You can get on drugs and live on the street. That's your option. Okay? And it's not dignified. And it's not even like stable. That's not a stable life because homeless people get shuffled around. The cops come and harass you at 6 a.m, shine their light up in your tent while you're trying to sleep, or you might be trying to get your thing on or whatever you're doing, so they're going to come and shine their lights and get on their horn like, it's 6 o'clock, it's 6 a.m, you guys got to move out of here. Get up, you got to move. It's like a prison. Like, that ain't no way to live. So, So I moved up here to Seattle, and when I first got here in 2017, I have to admit I didn't see a lot of homeless people. There was a few, I saw, compared to 3 years later, which is now 2020, it's about to be 2021. I would say the increase has been 75%. 3 years ago, there was about 25% of the homeless that you see up here now. And the reason for that is that the governor of this state is very pro homeless. And I'm just going to say that just to make it simple, because I can't, my brain is not like working at, full capacity right now. So I can't give you the exact, information as to why I came to that conclusion. But let's just say that Seattle was kind of like, because when you come to Seattle 3 years ago, you're like, wow, it's so clean here. There's not many homeless people. There's no ghetto anywhere. Like I drove, I'm a delivery person. I drive everywhere, and I do not see a ghetto. And this is the only state that I've ever been in where I didn't see a ghetto. I mean, there are some drug infested areas here, but it's nothing. It's nothing compared to what I'm used to coming from California and Illinois, and also New York City, and well, just not just New York City, but the five boroughs, and Jersey as well, and and Atlanta. I've been all around this country, lived everywhere, and there's always a ghetto. There's always a sketchy place where you're just like, oh crap, I don't really want to be hanging around here too long, and you just go in there, get your whatever you get, and get out, because it's not safe. Well, I haven't seen that in Seattle up on even now, but they're trying. They are trying. So for the past 3 years, you've been hearing about these weird laws, like you can crap on the street legally. I mean, why would you make a law like that? Like you can. I mean, I know everybody has to use the bathroom, but nobody wants to have to do that. You know what I mean? But like you can do that, and you can park your RV in front of on a residential street for as long as you want. Like they're basically inviting homeless people, like, come on up here to Seattle. We got plenty of, you know. So there's this whole homeless industrial complex that is getting, I won't say billions, because I haven't heard those kind of numbers, but I have heard up in the high millions, the hundreds of millions of dollars to cure homelessness and to work on the homeless problem. So it's kind of a joke, and most of the government officials that work, at the Congress here in the cities and stuff like that, they're the ones pocketing that money. They're the ones getting that money, because this is the cure for homelessness, and it's much short. It's very short. That's why I saved it for last. The cure for homelessness is tiny houses. You can build a tiny house for $3,000, and you could have tiny house communities. And here in Seattle, there's lots of areas, natural areas, where you could have tiny house communities, and the people would maybe have a job as taking care of the land. It'll be great, $3,000 per tiny house, and that's with plumbing and electricity and everything. There's really no excuses, you know. So when and then there was this whole guilt trip, like, this person is homeless. Don't you feel sad for them? Like, don't you want to hear their story? And that's weird. That's weird. Okay. Of course, you have sympathy for people who are suffering. We all suffer, you know. But to single out homelessness, I can tell you right now that everybody on the street, at least 98% of the people on the street, got a drug habit. That's why they're on the street. They're on the street because they are addicted, and they're sick, and they need help. But they're not ready to change. They don't want to change. And then some people, they just like it. They like the freedom. They like the freedom. Well, okay, I'm gonna put my tent right here. And then, if I get gaffled up and they make me move it, I'll just move it somewhere else. And then I'll put my tent somewhere else. But the point is, they can do all the drugs they want. They can, conduct their street business how they want to do it. And it's a good life for them out there. And a lot of them are out there because of the drug laws and the prostitution laws. Because once you go to jail, that changes everything for you. You're not qualified in the same way that you were before you went to jail, especially if it was a felony offense, because you had this amount of drugs on you, or because, whatever the case may be. So a lot of those people are out there because of the jail situation. That's why if you watch the video prior to this one, I really focus on, just making everything legal, which I think, you know, I mean, I can't judge the future. I don't want to speculate. I'm just trying to plant a seed in people's minds that, if you're an alpha type personality such as myself, and you want to do something effective in society, then we need to get people out of jail. We need to stop this criminalization of human behavior, which is very essential and basic to us all. We all love sex, we all love drugs, we all love fun and celebrating, we love those things. So we shouldn't be criminalized for that. You shouldn't be made into a criminal. That's a stigma that sticks with that person their whole life, and that's why they end up on the streets. So being on the streets for a homeless person, for the most part, there's different kinds of homeless people out there, but they don't mind. They're cool with it. There's a lot of people who will drop out and just go be homeless because they have a drug habit anyway. So they can't be productive, and really be in control of their life anyway. But I see a world where there's no such thing as homelessness, where homelessness would be illegal. You wouldn't be able to just crash right in front of the yard here, and park your RV. There should be RV parking lots, and I do think this should be a welfare issue. Where if you have a vehicle, a car, a truck, a van, or an RV, whatever you got, there should be government sponsored parking lots where you can go and park, and there should be showers there, and toilets, and sinks, and trash cans. Um, Homelessness is not trying to get solved. Nobody's trying to solve homelessness. They want to promote homelessness. So they pour money into homeless programs to invite people and attract people that want to get more money and lobby for more money for the homeless issue. If you have $300 million, you can solve the homeless problem right now for this whole country. You can solve it right now. You don't need, what else do you need? You don't need anything else. If you have $300 million, okay, how many tiny houses is that if it's $3,000 a pop? You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think I'm making this video because I just remember, not too much recently, but people use the homeless issue to pull on your heartstrings. Oh, this woman is homeless with her children. This man, he lost his job. And I'm not saying that it's not some of that, because it is. There are people like that in the situation, but they are the minority and they are the exception. Most of the people in the homeless system want to be there. That's their home. They like it. They're familiar with the system. They know how it works. They're on drugs, most of them. Those are street people. And that's what they like to be, because they represent the monks and the priests that in Thailand, those people just go and they live in the monastery for the rest of their life, and they do public service and stuff. There's a place for those people in other parts of the world. In our country, we don't have a place like that. So I would say either, get some kind of system where people who want to drop out of society can do it effectively and still be of use to the society. Or if you just want people to be on drugs and be like feeling, bad about themselves or whatever, then give them a place to do it at. Give them a tiny house and have tiny home communities where they have showers and stuff. So it's very frustrating for me. But please let me know what you think in the comments.